All right. Hi, Paul Sakis. Good News Broadcast, Good News Planet, and Pause the World for Peace. And so I'm saying all those things because I'm with Georgia Umano. Hey, Georgia, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
This Georgia is something else. She's a do-gooder. She's out there. She's an author. Hold up your book.
All
You
right.
have a
This is
book.
this is my book that I wrote last year, Terriers in the Jungle. It came out last year. It was published. It won 8 awards last year
I
for my
heard.
first novel. Yeah, 8 awards. I was shocked myself, but I am trying to make it into a screenplay now. But one of the purposes of the book, besides the joy of writing it, because it's written from the point of view of my two dogs, who I brought to Africa with me. I went to Africa because I love elephants and I wanted to help them. I had been there several times and written articles, and in Los Angeles I've helped to lead marches for elephants and speak about them and write about them. And but it's always a joy actually being with them in person, the wild elephants and the rescued elephants over in Kenya. And I've gotten to know quite a few conservationists over there. And so I just felt like I really wanted to stay a longer time instead of just on a couple of weeks. So my husband agreed. So we picked up and moved to Kenya with our two little dogs. And I wanted to help elephants, but I couldn't get a job at that time. They weren't giving out work permits for conservation in Kenya. The government wasn't. But then I was offered a job as environmental director of a rescue group for young girls who had, most of them had been assaulted and they were pregnant or they had babies and they were very poor, and some of them really had nowhere to go because sometimes the assault was happened within their own family. So I started working with the girls and I learned that they knew nothing about nature. And I used to be a nature docent. I'm very much into nature. I'm a vegan. And so I just went to town with these girls, and they learned a lot from me. And the main thing I taught them, because they were all started out, all down dog and didn't know what to do. And I mean, they were overwhelmed and they all quit school and then they never go back. And now they have a baby. They don't have a source of income, some of them, and they're all very poor. So I told them to look at the elephant as the role model, the elephant matriarch, and had to teach them what a matriarch is: a strong female leader, mother who takes care of the community, and the community respects her. So I told them that they were going to become matriarchs, and they liked that message. And then I showed them lots of nature films. We went out to different, we went to we were right near the Indian Ocean. So we'd go out and clean the beach. We'd go to a monkey rescue group. And then I took them finally to the national park where they finally saw the elephants. And and we had permission to go into the rescue center, and they were able to actually feed the baby elephants, and it changed their lives. They completely changed from the time I got there to the time I left. And I saw what a need there is for this, because it's a whole untapped resource in not just Kenya, but I probably most African countries, where the girls and the women are second class as far as education, leadership. And so I want to get these girls into leadership positions and take them from the lowest to a high place where they can get their certifications from school and at the same time have all the subjects drenched in nature and learning. And then what the best place to do this is in a part of Kenya where there's human wildlife conflict. And that's where the wild animals go on their natural migratory routes. But because of the population explosion, people have built farms and everything there. So the elephants come along, they start eating the crops. They're pests, they scare the people. Sometimes there's clashes, there's even death. And then after that, the people go after the animals and try to kill them, and they do kill them. And that's a big problem. So I want to have a learning center right in the central conflict zone and have the best conservationists come and teach us all how to set this up the best way, and then come back and give classes for the people, not just for the girls and babies, but for the whole community, but a special emphasis on the young girls and making them into leaders and being able to get vocational training also in ecology. Some form could be rangers, helping with the beekeeping, anything that has to do with nature, they're going to learn it.
The book, if you could hold the
Mhm.
book up again one more time,
Yeah.
good, be so kind. Terriers in the jungle. Is that, I mean, the perspective of your two dogs, but what's in that book?
Okay, the book is told by the dogs. It's a story of their lives, two rescue dogs. Romeo, one of them who was a very badly wounded as a puppy. And so it took two series of rescues, plus just nearly missing getting his legs amputated because they were so bad, and then going through a lot of rehab. So he didn't really get his first home until he was a year old, and that was mine. And we just, he became, he, when I first got him, he was little, he couldn't even hop, he had to hop. They used to call him Skippy because he skipped because his wounded legs. But he got stronger and stronger. And also, I had another little rescue dog, Roxy, and they really fell in love with each other. And then we took them to Africa, and they encountered all kinds of wild animals and went through adventures, and they just learned a lot. So the story is from their point of view, but it has a lot of lessons about conservation in it from the dog's eyes, but still very wise.
So, okay, thank you for that. What's your website?
GeorgiaUmano.org. I mean, .com. I'm just
You have
building
an elephant
another.
website too, don't you?
Well, yes, I'm just building. The second one is for the school project, and it's called elephantmatriarch.org.
Let me ask you a question, okay? Because, okay, how, how did you become so brave to go to a country in Africa? Not probably, I mean, I didn't ask you, how do you teach Kenyans how to do things, or they speak English? Well, but
Um,
that's not my question. My question is, well, whether you could add that in here. But why are you so brave? I mean, maybe I'm just a big wimp, but I don't know if I would have the guts to go to another country to deal with animals, because some people want to kill those animals because some people want those tusks. And so, how do you go about doing something like that? What made you so determined and so strong and so desiring of this kind of beautiful, kind, loving, caring work?
oh, thank you. That's very sweet of you. Well, if I want to dig really deep, I would have to say, um, from the time I was a little girl, I loved animals, and I always tried to get little animals to have in the house, little turtles, goldfish, little birds. And my mother, she didn't like it so much, so they didn't usually last very long too, because I was too young. I didn't know how to take care of them. And then when I was 8 years old, my uncle took me to a shelter, and I found a dog there, uh, big black lab rescue dog. And I brought him home, and I loved that dog. He was, because my parents were divorced and I was all alone all the time. And this dog was like comfort. He it was like copacetic. It was the first time I felt like I had this wonderful kind of relationship. Well, needless to say, my mother didn't like it, and she, I guess, she and I are very different, and she grew up in very different circumstances, but she didn't, people didn't used to like, they used to respect pets less than they do now. Anyway, one day I got home from school, and no Blackie, he disappeared, and my mother had him taken away. And I was bereft, needless to say. And I wept for 3 days, and then my mother would not relent, and I had to live with my mother. She had custody of me, so I somehow pushed down all these feelings that I had about animals, and just to go on. And then I went back to school. That was in the summertime. Anyway, I didn't really look at another animal or dog, especially, for like 40 years. And then one day I was walking on the beach with my husband, and I see this little dog, and he jumps up into the owner's arms, and I just become fascinated. What is this? Look at that. Look how smart he is. Look how cute. I'd never been noticing. And all of a sudden I had to have a dog, right? So it eventually led to, yes, us getting the dog. And that opened up my heart and all my old feelings. Because I had been an actress, a stand-up comic, a teacher, and worked in offices. And I always did, I liked everything okay, and even the acting I enjoyed, sometimes parts I didn't like. But when I started connecting to my animal part again, the part that really loved animals all along, that just grew and grew and grew. And I got involved with some animal advocates. I especially at that time, there was a movement to release Billy the elephant from the zoo. And I got involved with that. And through that, I got to meet all these elephant conservationists. I started writing for journals. So I got to go into all these meetings with high level conservationists and learn what was really going on around the world. And the more I learned, I just got sucked in. And then I just started traveling to Kenya and writing about ecotourism and conservation, and then just kept increasing all the time. So I think this is what I was meant to do.
Okay, we like that. I'm glad you were meant to do it because it's, we're all one. We're all part of the same human race. And
Right.
the more we help each other, the more the world heals and grows and pays it forward and so on. Last question, and I really enjoy talking with you.
Thank you.
My last question is, and I ask many people this because we're in the peace movement. What is peace? So, Georgia, what is peace for you?
It's funny that you asked that question because I've been doing meditations a lot recently, and sometimes they're guided meditations, and I just read this beautiful, or I just did a little beautiful meditation with someone, and it was about how the ocean is there and it reacts to the wind and different conditions, but that we are an ocean. And if we go down deeper, and the deeper you go down in the ocean, it's very, very still and there's no turbulence at all. And I just love that imagery. It just, I think of it when I want to like really relax.
Wow.
And I would say peace is going deep.
Wow. Well, thank you very much. If you can find that meditation, please send it to me because I'll include it as part of our interview here. And
Okay.
appreciate you sharing the good news with us. All the best with the book and
Thank you.
with the when the site is up more. Tell us more about it for the
Okay.
offense
I will.
and
Uh,
keep doing the good work that you're doing.
And
It's
you too, Paul. You
thank
too.
thank you very
Okay.
much.
Nice to
Next
meet
time
you.
we're gonna have a comedy routine. We're gonna do some shtick, because
Oh, good.
you know,
I'll pull
eh,
out some of my old jokes.
get some of your material ready. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so
Okay.
much. Appreciate it.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.